Let's go to John in Jersey. John, what's up?
Hello.
Hey, John.
Hey, what's up? I was on the way to work this morning listening to AM News, and they're talking about a New Jersey cop that has a second life as a comic in New York City that's under fire by his boss. He said he might lose his job, and he goes by the name of Club Soda Kenny in New York at the comic scene.
Yeah. Club Soda Kenny is in the paper today.
So that's legit?
And now it's in, what? Now the radio, the news stations are talking about it down there in Jersey?
Yeah, WABC in New York, the AM station.
Oh, boy.
Wait, ABC in New York's talking about it? Oh, boy, this story has some legs.
Oh, boy.
That's better for him.
This story has legs. Strap in, kids. All right, thanks, John. We'll get into it right now. That's why Jimmy is beyond pissed. He's reading the article right now, and it's unbelievable, right?
It's really a freedom of speech issue.
It's sickening. Yeah, really, of course it is.
It's like one of those textbook freedom of speech issues.
Kenny went on and did some stand-up at a cringe humor show.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, there's a cringe humor show tonight.
Oh.
And he just did it because he just loves it, I guess. And probably some copy went after, just someone who doesn't like him, sent an anonymous copy of the videotape of his act to his superiors.
Yeah.
And they suspended him because of what he said.
And it's a reprehensible act
of course
that he does.
As an act, sure.
But that's an act. It's him playing a character on stage. That isn't him. That isn't the person he is when he's on the job. That's why people don't. They've gotten so politically correct that they put the two together. If you play a character, a role, and it's an offensive role you're playing, and then you have a job, why should the two be connected?
Well, it's going to be an interesting story, to say the least.
I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't know the details, but I don't think he was getting paid, which I think is better. I don't think he was getting paid because he's not moonlighting. He was just doing it. I think he just loves to do it.
Yeah.
And look what the police chief said. Without question, he has no authorization under policy to do this as employment. Police Chief James Abbott said, "We would never allow anybody to make racial jokes or anything like that."
Well, I could see if he was, on the job and in front of people representing the police department and saying the things he says. That's one thing. Then the guy could say that's a problem. When you're off duty and you're doing stand-up comedy, that's a freedom of speech issue. He is doing it on his own time, and you can pretty much say whatever you want in this country, especially in that context as stand-up comedy.
How many cops drink or beat their wives or do all this other shit to blow off steam because it's a brutal job? And what he does is he lifts weights and he does stand-up. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do anything, any type of substances, anything like that. This is how he blows off steam.
A major family man. A major family man.
This makes me want to fucking throw up.
22-year veteran.
Well, we should just read this whole thing because there's so much in this.
Yeah, I agree.
In this, and there's a lot to comment about. He's one of our bestest pals.
Yes, we love Kenny.
Club Soda Kenny has helped us out like you wouldn't believe, and we're going to do all we can to help him out.
And he's fucking Larry, law-abiding citizen, too. That's what really annoys me about this, is the guy does nothing illegal. Nothing.
And it's scary because he's very close to, retiring and getting his pension and stuff. And, it's going to be interesting as we move forward from here. But it's the Star-Ledger in New Jersey. By the way, the Star-Ledger called all of us, called Ben. I mean, they're trying to get comments from us. Go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves. Oh, we're just writing a story. We want your side. Shut up.
Sure.
No, you don't. Stand-up gig could cost West Orange cop his job. Club Soda Kenny routine gets sergeant suspended without pay. Around West Orange, John Fetter is known as a no-nonsense police sergeant, a 22-year veteran with an $88,000 salary and a plum assignment in the department's internal affairs division. But on the local comedy circuit, the towering cop goes by another name, Club Soda Kenny, a crass stand-up comic whose routine pokes fun at such taboo topics as rape, pedophilia, and bestiality. The act has landed Club Soda Kenny, on the popular Opie and Anthony radio program and gotten him gigs at top New York comedy clubs. Wrong! Jonathan Cassiano, wrong! You're a horrible reporter. You're a horrible writer you don't know shit.
He did do it. He did get it wrong. It hasn't landed him spots at the top.
A couple things. Club Soda Kenny's been our friend for years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of his act. He's just a friend of the show, helps out whenever he can. He helps us as a bodyguard and a personal assistant and all this fine stuff. And he so happened to start doing stand-up comedy. It wasn't his act that brought his, attention from us. You ass. For years, Sergeant Feder and Club Soda Kenny have coexisted peacefully, but this week the two personas collided when several West Orange officials were anonymously mailed a CD of Feder's act. An 8-minute profanity-laced tirade performed at a December comedy show in Manhattan and later posted online. Feder does not wear his uniform or identify himself as a police officer in the act.
Right.
The routine in which Club Soda Kenny jokes about raping a bride at knife point and molesting his own 5-year-old son has at least temporarily cost Feder his gun, badge, and paycheck.
That's where we've gone in this society. A guy doing a stand-up comedy routine is now possibly going to lose his job and his pension because what he joked about is politically incorrect.
Right.
That it's almost this is like a bad parody of what an asinine society would do to a guy for doing unpopular jokes. It's sickening.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he's less than a year away from getting his pension.
Yeah.
That's what makes this whole thing a little scary. He was suspended without pay Monday, pending an investigation into his act, West Orange officials said. Though no administrative charges have been filed, the 48-year-old Feder could be charged with conduct unbecoming of an officer, an administrative offense that could strip Feder of his job and possibly even his pension, officials said. Township officials would not comment on the investigation because it is an internal personal matter. However, they said that if Feder was paid for his performance, it would be a violation of the department's policy that prohibits officers from moonlighting without departmental approval. Without question, he has no authorization under policy to do this as employment, Police Chief James Abbott said. We would never allow anybody to make racial jokes or anything like that.
Has James Abbott ever talked to cops? I mean, they have a very, very... I don't think any cop would deny that, in general, there's a gallows humor. It's a brutal job. You're a fucking target. They have a really, really brutal sense of humor. It's a sort of survival mechanism. And so he takes it onto a stage, and this guy, it's just... I wish I could express better how irritating this is.
Well, I think you will as we move forward here. When visited at his home in Springfield yesterday, Feder declined to comment. This fucking reporter was hanging outside Kenny's place for a couple days straight. The suspension places West Orange squarely inside a legal gray area, pitting First Amendment advocates against defenders of decency. Here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. Mayor John McKeon said the town has zero tolerance for any law enforcement officer or other township employee that isn't racially sensitive or isn't sensitive to victims of criminal activity.
Sensitive.
That's
sensitive.
That's not what
they're making it sound like
comedy and freedom of speech is about.
Yeah, they're making it sound like he was on the job in uniform and in the middle of arresting some perp. He's telling all these crazy jokes,
which would be inappropriate.
Of course, that's the difference. This was on his own time.
Yeah,
he wasn't getting paid.
No, in a club.
But Frank Askin, director of the Constitutional Litigation Clinic at Rutgers Law School in Newark, said the U.S. Constitution should protect Feder from repercussions at work, no matter how outlandish his routine. If he's off duty, the First Amendment protects him, and they can't punish him by taking his job away for exercising his right to free speech, Askin said. The courts have upheld that view in the past. And then it goes on to another case. In 1985, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the Baltimore Police Department could not punish an officer for performing a blackface routine while off duty, even though the performance sparked outrage and demonstrations throughout the city. Page 2. However, Alan Goobel, assistant director of the New Jersey...
No, Alana, it's a chick.
Huh? I'm sorry. However, Alana Goobel, assistant director of the New Jersey Coalition Against Sexual Assault, said police departments should not tolerate officers who joke about rape regardless of their right to speak freely.
I bet she looks like an Alan, though.
I'm sure she's awful. But do you see how frightening that is? The word right here, regardless of their right. No, stupid.
Yeah,
not regardless of their right. No. You can't brush that off like, yeah, they have freedom of speech, but not about this subject they don't.
Yeah, regardless of their right. No, that's the right.
In that sentence lies the problem with every special interest group in this country.
Yeah.
Every special interest group yeah, you have a freedom of speech, and here's the asterisk, as long as it goes hand in hand with what I consider decent and my ideology.
Yeah.
No, stupid. He has the right to do it on his own time in a comedy club setting. It's a bunch of adults. There were no kids there. He wasn't doing it in public, as far as, like, you know, in the middle of a mall.
People have a complete lack of understanding about the freedom of speech and what it is.
Of course they do.
They absolutely, there are too many people out there that believe it's the freedom of speech as long as it doesn't offend me or someone else or a group. No, it's freedom of speech to offend people. You're allowed. If you're offended by it, that doesn't mean they don't have the right to say it. But a lot of people really think that it's illegal or something to say things that are offensive to certain groups or people. No, it's not. It's what the whole thing's based on, idiot.
And look, she's the director of a rape crisis center. I mean, obviously they're going to take rape really, like, you can't joke. I understand all that. But I want to know how, if he was an actor and he played a rapist, would they have gone after him? No, they wouldn't have. No. It's just a politically correct response. And she goes on in the next sentence. The coalition thinks it was absolutely an appropriate decision by this officer's superiors.
The coalition thinks it was absolutely inappropriate.
Inappropriate. They thought it was right.
Yes. I thought you said inappropriate.
Oh, no, inappropriate.
Inappropriate decision.
They agree.
Yeah, of course. By this officer's superiors, Goebel said, rape isn't a joke. Yeah. I would love to get Alana on the show to talk about free speech. You know, I would love to get her on the phone right now.
Regardless of their rights to speak freely. No.
I understand her and her group very sensitive to any jokes or humor, dark humor, gallows humor about rape. We understand that. She isn't going to like it. She's going to want, Kenny thrown off, and that's the end of it. But she doesn't understand that there is a right to say those things. It's a legal right. It's an entitlement. It's a right of the Constitution to talk about it. You will be offended by it. You might even sit there and curl up in the fetal position and cry in the shower again when you hear it. But it's allowed. You can do that in this country without suffering any kind of repercussions like this.
You know, they said that when John Wayne Gacy's victims were being carted out by the cops, they were digging up bodies. I read an account on it. They said the cops were joking around as they're pulling bodies out. And it's not that they think that it's funny. It's because that's a gallows humor. That's what you do when you're in that kind of a job. It's the way you survive. You're dealing with
soldiers.
That's how you cope.
You cope. Yeah. I mean, look, he was in internal affairs, but he spent how many years pulling guys over and chasing down suspects. It's a brutal job, man. And for a cop to get called out doing something like that in his private life, not for money, but just as a venting thing, or for whatever reason he does it.
His private life. It's
frightening.
Act.
It's really frightening.
He's not acting out the things he's talking about on a stage, you idiots. It's not like he's committing these crimes that he talks about on stage. He's talking about it in the context of a comedy act at a club.
Because what would happen if that was a speech he was giving, and he had let's say he can't agree with rape in a speech, and I mean that's sociopathic, but let's say it was a serious speech where he just had very politically incorrect views, and it was off his own time. I mean, are they going to fire him or wreck his pension because he had views that didn't agree? I think that the Jersey trooper that got in trouble for saying that blacks got arrested more because they committed more of the crimes, Whitman of course crucified him. Yep. I think he probably said it on duty, and got.
But the key here, it was in a comedy club. People are going to a comedy club to hear some crazy shit.
Right.
Some crazy stuff.
It's completely in the proper context to be saying those awful things, no matter who you are.
I feel really bad for Kenny. He's freaking out. We've been talking to him every day. This thing has been developing for a few days now. And, man, Kenny, I know you listen every day. You got to hang in there. Just hang in there. We'll get through this. Yeah. Continuing with the article.
And he is hanging in there, and he is, he's going to be all right.
Local comics and booking agents said Feder entered the comedy world almost 20 years ago when he befriended up-and-coming shock comic Andrew Dice Clay at Rascals Comedy Club, which has since moved from West Orange to Montclair. Clay offered Feder a job on a security team and would often incorporate him into his act. When Clay hit his peak in the late 80s, Feder took a leave of absence from the police department to tour with him, said Tony Camacho, a New York agent who used to book Clay for Rascals. That's where he got his name, Club Soda Kenny, from Dice saying, "Get me a Club Soda, Kenny." Camacho said he was like a sounding board for Dice. He was like a sounding board for Dice while he was on stage. When Clay stopped touring, Federer returned to the police force, but his stage name still carried weight on the comedy circuit. He has a certain reputation as a funny, tough guy character, you know? The whole Dice entourage kind of thing, said Ed Kavanaugh, the entertainment director at Rascals. That reputation has landed Club Soda Kenny regular features on Opie and Anthony. Oh, my God. A program on XM satellite radio known for its lowball humor and adolescent pranks. He's also appeared in the hidden camera DVD Meet the Creeps. Mm-hmm. The CD sent to West Orange officials was from a December 8th performance at the Laugh Factory Comedy Club in Times Square. For 8 minutes, Club Soda Kenny rants about everything from pistol whipping his wife to having sex with his dog. The segment later was posted online with a picture of Federer and a brief description of his act. Both have since been taken off www.cringehumor.net, though the site still offers an Opie and Anthony segment featuring audio and photos of Federer. Bob Levy, a South Jersey comic who performed with Federer about a year ago at Caroline's Comedy Club in Manhattan, said Club Soda Kenny is more of a cult character than an aspiring comic. He admitted Federer's act was pushing it a little, but said comedy routines do not always reflect a person's true feelings. If it doesn't affect your day job, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's like telling someone who's a cop you can't go out and sing karaoke.
You know what? If Levy said that, that's a genius point. What if it was a karaoke song with offensive lyrics in it?
Yeah.
What if it was a karaoke song that, for whatever reason, offended people's sensibilities or ideologies? Would that be illegal, or would that be a problem for him as far as the department's concerned?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is sickening.
So this story has lots and lots of legs. That's for sure. Let's go to Dave on Long Island. Dave, what's up?
Yo, the biggest thing they're shooting for is they see his pensions coming up, and they're going to save that much friggin' money just by offing this guy.
I don't know, man. I'm not going to say it's a money issue. I think it's more of a politically correct.
I'm sure it's politically driven, but, I mean, think of how much his pension's going to weigh out to be.
The police chief's not thinking of that, dude.
You know, they nail guys with drug stuff. They'll double test them for, drug testing and stuff just to off the pension and send the guy on his way. Just, they don't give a shit about him.
I know they don't, but drug testing or whatever is one thing. But a guy I don't think anybody's going to stand-up comedy. I just don't think they're going after his pension. I think this is a PC issue. They saw this as being embarrassing to the department, and they're just going to investigate it. They're going to find nothing because he didn't do anything wrong.
Well, Club Soda Kenny's got a great case on his hands.
He does.
That's for sure. I don't know what's going to happen. Because Kenny's not giving me the details, but, I'm sure he's going to fight this all the way.
Let's see what the ACLU does. All they do is hold on, dude. All they do is defend people who are barbarians in their behavior. Let's see if the ACLU steps up and defends a guy's right to free speech.
They're too busy defending every Muslim that wants to kill Americans. That's who they're defending nowadays.
Yeah.
How about Ron Kuby? I mean, let's see if he pipes up and says anything about it. I mean, he's a big defender of people's right to say what they want.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And aside from that, Jimmy, of all people, you should know, since when did they start taking fucking comics seriously?
Well, dude, they've always done it. They've always done it. Look, Lenny Bruce. Was arrested prior or got shit. Dice. The women's movement ruined Dice's career. That's why they paid him off for 3 films.
And the gay guys.
The special interest groups, of course. Special interest groups, because they were too scared to go after black guys. Saying, Colin raised this point. Actually, it was a brilliant point that when Dice was doing what he was doing, they couldn't go after rappers because again, white special interest groups will never go after groups like that because it's misconstrued as racist.
Right.
So they went after who they thought was safe, which was a shock comic or a shock value comic. They would never go after her. Look at Dice is banned from MTV for saying dirty words.
Right.
Meanwhile, 50 Cent is on there calling other people a punk motherfucker and threatening to shoot them, and they have to beep him. But you know what? They're never going to ban 50 Cent or any rapper. Snoop Dogg is a gang member. He was a gang member, and I know now he's not, and everybody loves him, and he's great. But you know what? Why is his past behavior not been judged? Why is he not been banned from MTV? A, he's black, and B, he's a musician, so you can do whatever you want. But if you're a comic, they're going to come after you.
Yeah, they've been crucifying comics forever, like Jimmy said. I mean, I just saw the Lenny Bruce play, and they wrecked Lenny Bruce's career.
Yeah.
They wrecked his career.
They ruined him.
He got arrested for saying cocksucker, and it never got better from that day on. And it got to a point where he was broke, and he couldn't. No one was going to hire him across America. Not one club would hire him.
Only because they were afraid he was going to get arrested or yanked out, and they were going to lose money, or their club was going to get shut down.
Either way, it boils down to two handfuls of irrelevant douchebags deciding what we can and can't do every fucking day.
Well, you know what? This is an issue right here. This seems to be an issue where the far right and the far left come hand in hand. I mean, the far right, let's be honest, has been much worse for free speech. I mean, as much as I trash liberals, it's been the conservatives with this family values shit that have been the major problem. But then you look at somebody in a far left. And they're always thinking about, well, he shouldn't say that because it's dangerous free speech. It's hate speech. That's how the left will do it. The right will say it's family values endangerment, and the left will come out and say it's hate speech. Everyone has their own reason as to why you can't say what they don't want you to say.
All right, fellas, I got a bolt, man. I got shit to do at work. Have a good one.
Okay, all right, thanks. Let's go to Michelle in New York. Michelle.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, I've been listening to the show since the first day you guys came to XM, and I've, been a fan of Kenny's, and I didn't have any idea he was a cop. I mean, it just blows my mind. He's never used that as part of his plot on the show.
Never.
Wow.
Never. Never. I mean, I'm just in shock. I did not even know he was a cop.
He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't come on. Even in his personal life, I've hung out with him. He doesn't tell people, I'm a cop, let me do this. The guy is like, it's so annoying because I know him. And despite the act having barbaric lines in it, he's the most law-abiding guy I know. And then to see him vilified for some dumb shit he said on stage under the context of being a comic with adults, it's frightening that can happen today.
It is, and I heard his spot there in December when he did it at the club, and it is real cringe humor. But how does that have anything to do with the fact that he's a police officer?
It absolutely doesn't. You're right. It has nothing to do with it. Nothing.
I just can't even believe that this would even have anything to do with his job. Could affect his pension. Blows my mind.
Yeah, it shouldn't at all.
Blows my mind.
Well, again, that's,
Thanks.
Well, let's get some people in there calling from all over the country. Robert, Missouri, what's up?
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I just want to say you're awesome. This is the reason why I switched to XM. Politically correct. It's just getting out of hand. I'd pay $50 a month to listen to you guys.
What?
That's all. Punching out.
All right. Thanks.
Why, sir? They're overcharging you. 12 something, I think.
No filter, Paul.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Well, I've been on hold for like 20 minutes just to plug the show, but I guess I don't need to now for tonight's show with Jim Norton and Bill Burr. And I just wanted to give out the phone number for anyone who wanted to go. If that's okay, it's 212-586.
Don, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on?
You have horrendous timing, no filter, Paul. We'll plug the Cringe Humor Show a little later. Don, what's up?
Oh, I just wanted to say, yeah, I totally agree with you guys. Y'all are right on the point, but some same stuff's happened to some close friends of mine. They be working for Budweiser, and they go into a bar at night, and they're not on duty. They're not in their uniform. They're not, and they drink a Coors beer. Their boss walks in and fires their ass. He says and I said, what? That's bullshit. And he said, well, it's ethical. I'm not supporting my company or whatever.
Yeah, I did hear about that. I don't know if it's a freedom of speech or whatever it is. I guess it ties in somehow.
Yeah, but it sucks. I totally agree with you guys, but I mean, I don't know if it starts falling under that ethical BS or what. But I just thought I'd play devil's advocate here and give you a different view, maybe.
Well, they are kind of creepy. I mean, there's a lot of companies now that won't hire you if you smoke, which they say is health insurance reasons or whatever. But it's amazing how they really are creeping. I mean, I guess they've always been in your personal business, but it's like they still refuse to get out of it. People still refuse to get out of your business.
Exactly, Jimmy. I totally agree with you.
And how long has Kenny been doing comedy now?
I honestly don't know. When I first met him, we were I knew him with Dice. I never knew he had done stand-up or tried. I think it was more of like a thing he would do occasionally when the time was right, when he would just go up. You know what I mean? I don't think it was ever something he said, I'm going to do. I know he doesn't want to do it professionally. He loves what he does. He's a cop. He loves being a cop. He doesn't want to leave that and do stand-up professionally. Mm-hmm. It's like a hobby.
All right, let's go to Dugout Doug. Doug, what's up today?
What's going on, guys? Good morning. And to the guy 3 calls ago, you can email an extra $40 to dugoutdoug@gmail.com if you want to pay $50 a month. But the unfortunate problem is with Kenny, and I am a huge Club Soda Kenny fan, so don't get me wrong here. I'm not taking you guys on. But what they're going to do is they're going to use taking a police officer and holding him to a higher standard routine, and they're going to go after him with that, which is really unfortunate, because they take the badge and the duty from the second you walk into an academy.
Well, Doug, let me cut you off and ask you a question. I know what you're saying about they have to like give you a higher standard of behavior and stuff, but in a freedom of speech argument, like when it comes down to like a legal argument like that, what can they do?
Well, the problem is you're not talking legal. You're talking what a police department is going to do with Kenny's career right now. And what they're going to do is they're going to look at it from an ethical standpoint, almost as if you're held to a higher standard if you have the badge. Somewhere in that paperwork that he signed when he got that job, they can now go back and find something. And whether or not he is going to get shit for what he's actually doing here, which, as you're saying, and I agree with, is legally nothing. He's not breaking any laws by doing what he's doing, but they're going to go back and they're going to look for something now to ride his ass on.
You're saying like a non-legal clause in his contract, like they're not going after him legally. They're just saying, as far as this job is concerned, we can fire you for behaving this way.
Not necessarily for behaving that way. I don't know if they can actually fire him for this as far as the situation is concerned.
Who
but
knows?
They can't fire him for being a stand-up comic unless they're going to go to what you mentioned earlier. I'm sorry, what the article mentioned earlier, as far as working part-time without permission of the department. They can turn around and fire him for that.
But he wasn't working, so that's the beauty of it. And I would. If Patrick, first of all, I'm doing that show tonight. If I found out Patrick was paying Club Soda Kenny and not me, I'd fucking set his house on fire.
And another beautiful thing is, too, which Kenny definitely has going for him, I've listened to every second of this show since you guys have been on XM. No idea until I saw that article this morning that Kenny was a cop.
Oh, he kept it separate. He always kept it separate.
Yeah, everybody. None of us said anything.
All right.
A good thing he has going for him as far as this whole situation is concerned is that he wasn't using that position to gain notoriety or wasn't using the position in his act.
Right.
To ridicule a police department or anything like that.
All right, Doug. I got to move on because
thanks, buddy.
Everybody wants in here. Debbie in
and
New
he's
York.
right too.
Debbie.
Hey, how you doing?
You're
guys?
a cop.
Yes, I am. Hey, Jimmy, it's Debbie.
Oh, hey, Debbie, how are you?
Good. Doug's right on the fact that, when you become a cop, there's orders, and you're supposed to know the orders inside and out, whether you read them or not, and you have to follow them. In those orders is things unbecoming of a police officer, which you can lose your job, your pension, and everything for.
But how often is unbecoming a police officer challenged legally as a freedom of speech issue? Because, again, a lot of times they said the courts have upheld the cop's right to do a certain thing in their private time. Conduct unbecoming a police officer could be when you're dressed as a cop, when you're on duty, say, seeing a pregnant woman and saying something about punching her, or if you see a black guy saying something racist. Technically, I don't think that's illegal, but that to me is conduct unbecoming a police officer.
Right.
What the order says is on and off duty. All those orders say on and off duty.
So now it will come down to, is this unbecoming a police officer or is it not? Like, what's more important? Will that clause in his contract or his right to speak freely, which will weigh heavier? And I think the freedom of speech issue will, because he wasn't doing it as a cop and he wasn't being paid to do it. I think the freedom of speech issue will weigh heavier.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably going to offer him some sort of deal, but he's probably going to lose his job. It's just the way that this job is. This job stinks, and if somebody has it out for you, they're going to throw you under the bus, and they're going to take everything from you if they can.
I will say, I hope you're wrong. I mean, I don't know. Especially if there's a lot of people talking about it. I'm glad, actually, that Star Ledger article was written for Kenny's sake, because now they can't just do it and brush him under the rug and go beat it.
Yeah.
I would love to know who was the coward that anonymously mailed this in, too.
What do you expect? Of course, it's
unbelievable.
It might be a cop that hates him, or it could just be a person who was offended by it and who recognized him from West. It could be anything.
Yep.
It could be anything. It could be somebody that just happened to have heard it or saw it on the Internet that he arrested in the past, called the chief and was like, hey, he did this, this, and this.
Right.
That happens to us all the time.
I know there's no real friends in the when you're with the IAD, too.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely not.
There are a couple of people that probably would like to see you taken down a couple of notches.
Yeah. Right. All right, Debbie, we got to move
Debbie.
on. Let's go to Sarge in Jersey. Sarge.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey.
Hey, listen, man, this is all politics for Kenny, man.
Yep.
It's the mayor. If you read the paper, the police department didn't comment on it. The mayor did. It's just Jersey politics playing at its best. The mayor didn't like what he did, and he's getting humped.
This story has legs, man.
He's gonna have a big fight on his hand. But Jimmy, you're right with the constitutional issues. The Supreme Court's already ruled on that.
Yeah,
that
because
we don't give up our rights when we become a cop.
Absolutely not. And again, if he was standing there in his city police officer uniform with a badge and a fake gun on a stage, I mean, to me, that's all right. I can understand that's conduct on becoming an officer. But no one who doesn't know Kenny knows he's a cop.
Mm-hmm.
He never says it. What's that?
I didn't even know until today.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's not the way he carries himself. He doesn't run around. I'm a cop. Give me this. Give me that. He's just him.
Yeah, I'm a New Jersey cop, and the politics there are horrible. If he needs a good labor lawyer, I got the best.
Yeah, well, hopefully there'll be somebody or the ACLU. If the ACLU,
it's not going to be the ACLU.
Why?
Because they're not going to help a cop.
No, dude. They defend the Klan. I'll say one thing for the ACLU. As much as they annoy me, they've defended the Klan's right to march. They've defended a lot of like groups that, believe me, go completely against their ideology. The ACLU is annoying, but they're not completely obsessed.
He needs a specialized attorney of labor law that deals with just police departments and the rights of police officers. That's the only one that's going to get him off.
Well, Sarge, hold on the line.
All right.
Let's get some info from Sarge. Let's go to Buffalo. John, what's up?
Hey, it's Sean, man. What's going on, guys?
Hey.
Hey, just wanted to say it's bullshit what happened to Kenny. Jimmy's right. If he's not standing up there in his police uniform with a gun, he's allowed to do whatever he wants. Constitutional right. And I've seen it around here in the Buffalo, Syracuse, Niagara Falls area. Not that anyone's gotten in trouble for it yet, but just the standards at the comedy clubs because of what these people can and can't say anymore and what they're scared to do. It's bringing it way down, and it sucks. It really does. I just wanted to say TNA with O&A in Buffalo was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And
one of the greatest things ever. Those video clips still being downloaded all over the place.
The best fucking day of my life.
We'll never be back, unfortunately, because of that.
I know, man.
But,
I wish you guys still be, but thank you for coming. Fist her ass. I'm punching out, guys.
All right. I think there's some warrants out for us in Buffalo still.
Yeah. I don't know if we're allowed back.
No, David in Atlanta, what's up?
Hey, guys. I love the show.
All right.
I just want to say I think it's pretty obvious who it was that ratted on Kenny.
Yeah.
I think it was Rich Voss because he was upset that Kenny's act was so much better than his.
Hello. I'm making an anonymous phone call.
Yeah, that's how they knew it was somebody, because he said, "Hi, this is Rich Voss, and I'm calling in anonymity."
In anonymity.
Yeah.
That's funny. Let's go to Rob in New York. Rob.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
We're doing all right. Our buddy's in trouble, and we're not happy about it.
Yeah, I feel really bad for Kenny. Here's what's going on. I'm an English teacher, and I also teach a little bit of ethics in the classroom. I just wanted to talk about the ethics of the situation. Now, legally, they really don't have a case against Kenny. It's all going to come down to ethics and whether or not, he violated any ethics as a cop. Now, he never mentioned being a cop in his act. He's never mentioned, any kind of that. He even goes under a different name. So legally, they have nothing on him. Now, the problem is that somebody brought this attention to the cops, to his department. Chances are they probably already knew that he was doing this, and so they have to respond to a complaint. So when they get a complaint like this, and when they have to investigate it. So they're probably going to blow it up as big as possible. But if I were Kenny, and Kenny, if you're listening right now, breathe easy on this, because this is all going to blow over eventually. And what's going to happen is they're going to eventually, they have to look into it. After they look into it, they're going to find pretty much nothing, and they're going to run a little 3-line article in the Star Ledger, and you'll be all right.
Here's what you said, about as far as what did you say about being a cop and sort of ethics? This is where the freedom of speech comes in, because if you're that's like saying the ethics. They say he went up and did a Brian Regan type of an act, there would be no issue. So the behavior wasn't unethical. It was just what he was saying you understand what I mean? It's not like he was behaving inappropriately. No police department would say you couldn't go up there and do a Brian Regan type of an act for free. They would never try to tell you that. So the fact that he's doing an un-Regan-like act is, to me, the problem. It wasn't an unethical behavior. It was just unpopular what he was saying in the context of something that's a completely allowed thing to do.
Now, if he's going up there and he's saying, hey, I'm a local New Jersey cop and this is my name, that would be a violation of his ethics, because he's bringing he's pretty much bringing the Shield into the comedy club.
Right.
He is representing himself as a cop, but he's not. You know, he is totally under a different name, and so therefore it's not a violation.
There was a woman a woman cop. She posed nude in one of the nudie magazines, and they couldn't get her on that. What they got her on is that she used part of her uniform during the shoot. Like she had her hat on,
right?
Or something else.
That goes way back now.
And they said it wasn't the fact that she was nude; it was the fact that she was using part of her uniform, and then it brought the whole cop aspect into it. And Kenny just never let on that he was a cop, never identified himself as a cop when he was on stage. Had a different character name. I think that really is important in this, right?
Yeah.
All right, Rob. Thank you.
All right, punching out. Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
All right, Brian in San Diego.
Yeah, I'm a cop out here in San Diego. I'm on the job right now. And we actually had an incident with a guy who did put some of his uniform and badge and stuff on a picture. He was selling photos on an internet, masturbating, taking nude pictures, and selling his semen-stained underwear. Oof. He got fired, fought it through the courts, and we had to give him his job back. But what got him, and what hopefully Kenny didn't do, is that he had been caught earlier and given a direct order to knock it off, so he ended up getting fired for disobeying a direct order. So they couldn't get him on any First Amendment stuff. That's how he got his job back. But because he had violated an order, they went ahead and booted him out.
And the thing is, like what you're saying, like a guy masturbating in his uniform and selling photos and then selling his load-stained underwear. I mean, can anybody not see the difference between that type of sociopathic behavior and a guy blowing off steam telling some dumb jokes in a proper and appropriate setting?
So I agree, and I don't think he's going to have too much to worry about based on court decisions in the past, as long as he hadn't been told in the past, knock this off. And from everything I'm hearing from you guys, it doesn't sound like that's the case.
And to be honest with you, would they even be able to tell him to knock it off? I mean, would they be able to tell a guy in your private life, don't go out and do stand-up comedy to blow off steam? I mean, would they be able to if it's not moonlighting? I don't even know if they could do that.
Well, yeah, the getting paid for it's a different issue and stuff is to it. His act, if it is, you know, like you guys are saying it, yeah, they could. We do sign, like the other cop from Debbie or whatever said, we are aware that anything we do off-duty could get you in trouble if it brings negative light on the department, and that's what the department's looking at. And the teacher or the cop that was just on is saying they are going to suspend him while they do the interview or the investigation, and then I think he'll be reinstated. But, yeah, they could tell you, don't do this, don't do that. And you have to get an agreement for outside employment, whether it's coaching high school baseball or comedy or whatever. So they could say not to do it.
Right.
And then if you did it, it's a violation of an order, and that could get you fired, but not what you said.
Right.
All right, thanks, buddy.
All right, Brian, thank you. We're going to try to move on here. Dave in West Virginia. Dave.
Yeah. Hey, I just started listening to you guys on the On XM Love Show.
Thanks,
Hey,
Dave.
I got two good words for you. Sean Hannity. He's been looking for a story. This is the story, man.
Well, Sean listens to our show every morning. If he's listening, I would love to get him on the show and see what he thinks of this.
Yeah, we're trying to get him.
We're trying to get him, actually. Thank you, David.
All right, punching out.
We'll send the bat signal out to Sean Hannity. Give us a call, Sean, or if someone knows Sean, call him at home and tell him Opie and Anthony needs him for a second or two. John in Miami, what's up?
Hey, let's be honest. You guys are just radio whores. You know, 11 o'clock comes and you're going to go to lunch and not give a shit about Club Soda, Kenny.
Wow. You sure don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, we're
here.
actually really good friends off the air, too.
That's a strong statement there, John.
Howard Stern told me to call and say that. I'm sorry. Did I screw up something?
Ugh.
Oh, dude.
Oh, God, dude.
You're an embarrassment to yourself.
You think so?
Dude, go ahead.
Yeah. Your phone call was awful.
No, it wasn't.
Pretty bad.
Howard Stern told me to call? Yeah.
Come on. This was probably the best call of the morning.
Oh, God.
Thanks, John.
You're embarrassing.
What a cornball.
Dan in Connecticut. Dan.
Hey, I was just going to say, the same kind of thing happened to that wrestler, John Bradshaw Layfield. He was doing like an anti-Hispanic thing on the WWE, and then the next thing he got fired from CNBC because it was too offensive.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's the guy, the wrestler, Bradshaw. I knew him as Bradshaw when I was watching wrestling. I haven't watched in a few years now, but
he was all hip on stocks.
Turns out he's pretty brilliant with his finances there, and CNBC gave him a little spot on the show. Then he did some offensive material for WWE in the ring, and
total character,
and then next thing you know, CNBC fires his ass.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens out there.
It's amazing when you're saying things that are just politically incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
How the reaction is. No one gives a shit about your right to free speech when it comes to something like that. Well, should not tolerate officers who joke about rape, regardless of their right to speak freely. Wrong,
That's
lady.
a very dangerous statement,
That is completely included in the right to free speech. Not regardless.
Yeah, it's unpopular speech has to be protected. That's exactly what it's about, stupid.
There's too many Americans that have no concept of what the freedom of speech is. They just don't know.
Look, I'm not a lawyer, but I remember in high school, I believe, and I know someone will correct me, free speech covers most free speech, except for, they call it TPM, time, place, and manner. Like, you can't yell fire in a movie theater and say it's free speech.
We knew that one.
You can't incite a riot.
Always hear that one.
That's the best example where you can't incite a riot.
Sometimes free speech means you're going to hear some terrible, awful thing.
Yes.
And that's what people don't understand.
How about don't yell anything in a movie theater? I'm trying to watch the movie.
Absolutely. If you're black, you can't go into a movie theater. Oh, no, I hope they don't fire me for that.
Oh,
sorry,
Jesus.
guys. Just kidding. LOL.
Let's see. Well, a couple more, and then we'll try to move on here. Mike in Pennsylvania. Mike.
Hey, guys. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but the problem is this isn't a First Amendment issue. Now, bear with me here.
All right.
I'm in the adult entertainment industry as a producer, and we're dealing with a big First Amendment issue right now with this thing called 2257. It's these regulations which are really restricting speech and everything because it's the threat of prosecution. What's going on with Kenny is it's an employment issue. He's not being threatened with prosecution and going to jail and stuff like that. The First Amendment protects against, the government coming after you, taking your stuff, and throwing you in jail. As an employment issue, I don't know if New Jersey is a right-to-work state, but in Pennsylvania, if you walk in one day and the boss decides he doesn't like the way you dyed your hair because he likes blondes as opposed to brunettes, he can get rid of you.
Yeah, but you know what? I know what you're saying. No one is saying that he's being legally They're not threatening him with jail. But freedom of speech still covers you at work.
It most certainly does not.
You're completely wrong. In a lot of cases, it does.
Well,
then you're saying that after that happens, the boss just kind of, wrings his hands of you and shuts the door, and there's no repercussions for him or his place of employment? Yeah, exactly.
Civil ones. But as it comes down to a First Amendment issue, and believe me, I wish it was the other way because it's a big pain in the ass where
So wait, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Let's say you're there with your boss, and you're talking to somebody, and he overhears you saying, I voted for Bush. You're saying that he could fire you for that, and you wouldn't have a legal case in court where you could sue for millions?
Here's the thing. He doesn't have to tell you why he's firing you.
I don't know where is that, like when you're a cop?
I know.
Because first of all, you work for the government when you're a cop. It's not a privately owned family business. He's a cop. He's paid by the government.
I know, but the difference is that he's collecting a paycheck and he's an employee, as opposed to them coming to his house, knocking on his door, and arresting him because he was on stage saying something, that they didn't like. It's different. That's unfortunate, but it is.
I don't think it is. I know what you're saying about civil. In this case, maybe civil, and they're not threatening to put him in jail. But they can't, I don't think, just throw away your freedom of speech. You're saying basically that an employer can just fire you with no cause whatsoever if he doesn't like something you say.
They can't stop him from doing that. They can't say to him, okay, you can't go back to the comedy club and do that. They can just say, if you want to keep your job, you can't.
I disagree. I don't think they can say that.
They absolutely they certainly can.
Well, then why have the courts overturned it? Why have the courts sided with cops?
You'll have to look in the difference between civil and criminal. The First Amendment will only fall on the criminal side, not the civil side.
I don't think that's true. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think that's true.
Look into everything that's going on with.
And you can't compare porn, dude. I know what you're saying. I'm a big porn fan, but porn, they're basically attacking the idea of porn. No one's attacking. You understand? Doing stand-up comedy is a complete. No one's attacking that idea. They're only saying the way he did it we don't like. With porn, it's a totally different issue. That's a religious issue. It's sickening, but come on, it's a totally different thing.
All right, Mike. Thank you.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Uncle Sam off instant feedback from whackbag.com Is this MSNBC or is it the O&A show? Stop the legal call-in, people. They all suck. Boring.
What a douchebag.
Uncle
Shut
Sam,
the
go
fuck
fuck
up.
yourself.
Oh, fuck yourself.
I like the rest of his post there.
Go fuck yourself. Let me quickly explain here. One of our boys is in trouble. I don't give a fuck about doing an entertaining radio show today. We talk about what's on our minds. One of our guys is in deep trouble, and we're going to talk about it. If you don't like that, go find a fucking morning zoo and enjoy a battle of the sexes.
Yeah,
or something.
Leave, dickbag.
Douchebag.
Don't give a shit about you, Uncle Sam.
Whatever your fucking real name is.
When you get your own radio show, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
But you're not going to have a radio show ever, are you, Uncle
I
Sam?
want to laugh this
Are you?
morning. Kind of like typing guy.
Way to get the show, Uncle Sam. Way to get the show.
off.
Oh, Uncle Sam's just a jerk off.
Some days we have to go down these type of roads. That's what makes this show so special.
Here's the bottom line. If you don't like the discussion this morning, or if you know what? Fuck you. Turn something else on.
Yeah, just go somewhere else.
Fucking bad.
Go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this is going to be an ongoing story. This story definitely has legs. It's going to get very interesting from here. Wet Chicken wants to check in real fast. Wet Chicken, what's up?
Hey, New Hampshire is also a right-to-work state, and they can can you for anything without any reason. But down here, he's got the union. But anyway, I'm just calling to find out if the listeners can do anything. I'm not going to call us pests. Can the listeners do anything?
I don't think so at this point. I mean, again, he's got to get a lawyer and all this stuff, and there's really not much to do. I don't think it's gone on long enough yet.
He's got to fight it professionally right now.
Yeah, he's got to fight it legally. He's got to save his pension, man, for his family. He's less than a year away from getting his pension. That's what's scary here.
Yeah,
and that's the huge issue right there. By the way, I personally think I think his job. I think it's over, but it's just how it's going to end.
Well, he was 22 years in. I mean, he's I think been he's been a cop long enough.
So you know what, Kenny reads whackbag.com. Maybe there's gonna be some discussions going on. Maybe you guys can hang out there, and we'll see what happens from here.
All right, we'll do what he says. You guys suck.
All right, thanks, Wet Chicken. Oh, God, does that infuriate me?
Yep. Poor Kenny.
He's the greatest guy, man.
He's just a good guy, too.
He's made my life so much easier in the last few years. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, it really is annoying.
And, he is really bummed out right now. So we'll see how this works out.
All kinds of emails and phone calls going back and forth after the show. Like douchebag, a caller was saying, oh, you're just not even going to friggin' think about it. It's just for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe with other phony people that you listen to, that's the case. But, we're about real things over here and very concerned about Kenny.
Yeah, but tune in, get your traffic every 10 minutes. Tune into another show if you're not happy with this discussion.
Yeah.
I don't care. Z100 here in New York. I'll give you whatever city you're in. There's a zoo crew.
Yeah.
If you're in Seattle or wherever, or Sacramento, there was a very amusing little radio show we listened to the other day with two guys in a hole. Tune in and listen to that.
Yeah, go find a station with a hole.
Yeah,
that's
go
more
listen
your
to that.
speed,
You'll
Uncle
love
Sam.
it.
More your speed.
I just want to hear like the morning joke at 7:20.
And don't worry about First Amendment rights when it comes to the instant feedback. Because Uncle Sam, banned.
Absolutely.
There is no First Amendment. I run the instant feedback like Stalin. You never existed. Wiped from the record books.
You teach Uncle Sam exactly how lucky he is to live in America.
That's right.
Uncle Sam is a bucket of jizz.
He wrote, Anthony, ban me for at least as long as this segment's on. Oh, believe me, I can't unban you, my friend.
Good.
Won't be hearing from him anymore.
All right, we'll get into other things after the break.